Hi there. Tonight's Bible Nugget's probably going to be divided into two, maybe even three parts. And it all comes from verse which is in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. And what it says, I'll give you a whole lot of different versions. It says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. That was the NIV. The NLT says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. In other words, your heart determines what you do. And of course, King James is, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. What the verse means. So guard, the word guard, is norsar, which means to protect, to keep safe from injury, harm, or danger. I think in this kind of context, though, whenever we look at, because we're going to look at the different verses in the Bible which describe the heart. In the Bible, the heart is actually a combination of the soul and the spirit, one element of the spirit. And I'll give you the Bible verses that show that and demonstrate that. So to guard your heart is you need to protect it, to keep it safe from injury, harm, or danger. A major component of that in the Bible particularly is to keep it safe from becoming hard or for letting your conscience become seared. Because every time you say no to God or reject God, then your heart becomes that little bit harder. And finally it gets to a stage where it's so hard. Look at it with Pharaoh. God hardened his heart. But what that means is he just reinforced Pharaoh's desire or his will. He was not going to let go of the Israelites no matter what. But little by little by little, the stakes got higher and higher. And at the end, his heart was hardened. His heart was, he was not going to listen. It didn't matter what happened, he was not going to listen. And it took the firstborn of all the people in Egypt and all the animals to be killed on Passover night. It took that before he let them go. So what is the heart according to the Bible? Well, according to the Bible, the heart is a composition of all three components of the soul, which is the intellect or reason, will, your free will, and emotions. Plus, the heart also has the most important part of our spirit, which is our conscience. So I'll give you some verses for that. Matthew 9, verse 4, which says, but Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, why do you think evil in your hearts? So the evil in their thoughts actually comes from their hearts. And then Romans 10:9 says that if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, you will be saved. You need to believe in your heart, that thinking part of your heart, but believing in our heart conveys more than just thinking about it. It conveys like a conscious acceptance of it. Acts 11:23, and in the King James it says, who, when he came, had seen the grace of God, he was glad and exhorted them all that with purpose, which means with deliberate intention. This shows that your will or your intent, your decisive, your choice is part of the heart. Okay, Acts 11:23, if we read that in the King James, it's actually a little bit clearer in terms of how it affects the heart. Who, when he came and had seen the grace of God, was glad and exhorted them all that with purpose of heart they would cleave unto the Lord. That word purpose means to plan with deliberate intention, which shows that the will is part of the heart in the Bible. And then in John 16:22, and ye now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice. If we look at another verse now, that shows that we have emotions which come from the heart, and that verse is in John 16:22. And ye now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice. Emotions. And your joy no man taketh from you. Then in Hebrews 10:22, it says, let us draw near with a true heart. So don't deceive yourself, it's saying. In full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. This verse shows that conscience is part of the heart. The next verse we're going to look at is 1 John 3:20. For if our hearts condemn us, it shows that our conscience is part of our heart. God is greater than our heart and knoweth all things. So if our heart condemns us, which means to judge us, it shows us that our conscience is part of our heart. God is greater than our heart and knoweth all things. So let's go back to that definition of the heart again as described in the Bible. The heart is a composition of three components of the soul: the intellect, or the ability to reason, our will or choice, and also our emotions. Plus, it also includes the most important part of our spirit, and that is the conscience. So what do you think of that? Yeah, thanks.